This is Force 13 Live, entering our second hour of coverage on Tropical Depression Harvey. And my microphone just slipped. And again, the webcam in front of me does not work. It's so temperamental. So we're just left with this one over here, which you can sort of see the whole studio cam, whilst we look at Tropical Depression Harvey churning up in the Gulf of Mexico. Of course, it's going to be a threat to Texas. There is a hurricane watch and a storm surge watch in effect, and a tropical storm watch in effect for some areas as well. We'll get to the specifics shortly, but let's reintroduce our Skype team. There's quite a few people here right now, and I'll be able to hear them in a moment as soon as we can get the settings up. Where have they gone? Okay, well, I'm struggling with that right now. For some reason, it isn't... Oh, they're here. Okay, fine.
Wow!
Welcome back.
Oh,
whatever that was. You can also see on the screen the latest chart from the National Hurricane Center and the rainfall situation, what the National Hurricane Center is expecting. I'll go through that briefly before I talk to anyone. A storm surge watch is in effect for Port Mansfield to High Island. A hurricane watch is in effect for north of Port Mansfield of San Luis Pass, and a tropical storm watch is in effect for Boca de Raton, Mexico to Port Mansfield, Texas, and north of San Luis Pass to High Island. It's stationary right now. 35-mile-an-hour winds, 1005 millibars. I'm guessing I'm going to hand it back to Craig, who still has the models.
Yeah, after it did load at record pace, literally snails didn't even have a chance. So here's the last ensembles model for Harvey. So you can see it here wiggling about the place, and oh good grief, it was stalling. Landfall, wow. Great. Well then. That says it all. That model run only says, what's that, weak tropical storm, basically depression, if that. Seeing as that's 850 millibar height, and then stalling before a, what's that, just in Mexico, and then stalling again, and then dissipation.
Now, Craig,
That's pretty much it.
if you switch over to the ECMWF 500 millibars,
Why we wait on about 5 years?
that's
That's the 500.
Geo.
Trying to find the right one.
500 millibar
Yeah,
GA
about
potential height and pressure.
500 MSLP. That's what I want.
And it's only out to 240 hours.
Like the rest of it does.
And I didn't realise
right.
my microphone was off before, so just by the way, if you've got any comments or questions for us,
There it is, back.
do send them in. Start your message with Force 13 all in text. We finally here.
Oh,
Yeah,
great. Yes, we are. Mate. We're not here
We're-
5 years late.
There it is.
So here's
Good.
the ECMWF 500 millibar geopotential height. They are saying the exact same thing as the rest of the ECMWF is saying. And obviously you could see another storm coming off of the Cape Verdes, but that's ridiculously far out. But the ECMWF has
Looking at Harvey.
off the coast of Texas and curving back, just like hits Louisiana, potentially as a tropical storm, maybe. Looks like a tropical storm because that's 500 millibar height because the pressure is low as you go up.
Go on.
But then obviously the remnants of Harvey literally race up the east coast, or still on land. Potentially a flood threat for, I think Devon was concerned about it, and I know Orlando was concerned about it. So I don't know whether, I don't know whether you've got anything to say about that model run there, Orlando.
Well, the worst part over here is that The nearest river to my location, which I'm maybe a 3-minute walk to, it actually is near flood stage levels. So we don't need any more rain than there already has fallen. Yeah, for my location. And for Pennsylvania as a whole, it's been really wet this summer, and we don't need any more rain.
So you can see there that's not good at all.
Jonah asks us, could Harvey possibly make landfall in Texas, then move back out into the Gulf and move towards Florida?
Well, anything's possible. Anything is possible.
But from what can you just re-rack that model run again there? Because that's probably the closest it will get.
Yeah, that's probably there. That is probably the closest.
And what happens to it there? It just dies along the coast?
Yeah, it just goes on. It just goes off.
Oh, it goes inland. Okay, yeah.
It just makes landfall. Yeah, just makes landfall.
Did you guys check the recent NAM model?
I saw that somewhere else. Do you want to fill people in?
Oh dear.
I think that's a bit. I think NAM is a bit too bullish.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Well, Craig, I'll give you the opportunity to load it on your screen for a few moments whilst we look back at the maps from the National Hurricane Center. As you can see, they are expecting the tropical storm Harvey, as it will be then, possibly a hurricane, to make landfall on Friday or maybe Friday night, and then stall over southeastern Texas into Saturday, into Sunday, and into Monday. And the hurricane watch has been posted. The moment they say it's going to have 70 mile/hour winds, they don't think it will become a hurricane just yet, but that could change. And just on that, a question: is there any possibility that the cone may shift a bit more west than anticipated before landfall? Well, it's moved east. It can certainly move back west again. More likely to move back west than east, I guess. Though, is it? Because it is stationary, and a stationary storm probably lends to a little bit... Well, it's wasting time whilst it's being stationary, so it'll get picked up further away from the coast and move towards the north and east earlier, if it continues to move slower than the National Hurricane Center anticipates.
And then also could mean that it could intensify, you know,
yes,
a bit
especially while it's,
the NHC expected.
Especially while it's stationary, because it's sucking up all that ocean heat content, and the sea surface temperatures say gathering the fuel.
Well, then again, the stronger it gets, the more problems it will end up causing itself. Because if it sits in the same place for far too long, upwelling will then come an issue, and then wind shear would probably end up start increasing, depending on how long it was there for. But upwelling would definitely start becoming its number one enemy, starting to weaken the storm, maybe drastically or gradually, but regardless, affecting the storm rather heavily and weakening it until it moved back over the level waters that hasn't been affected by it. So here's the NAM model, and I near enough just had a heart attack looking at it and how awful it's being bullish. And look at this!
Yeah.
Look, what's that? 970, 965, 960. That's outrageous.
Category 2 there, maybe 3.
It's out by itself, that particular model, because the others are saying it around 970 up to 986.
Yeah, well,
I mean, realistically, you're looking at low 990s into the 980s millibars at landfall, which is by anyone's standards borderline tropical storm hurricane. So there it is. Where does it go after that?
It doesn't say, because it only goes up to 84 hours out. So there, I'd imagine, with its few
now on the right hand side of Florida there, that's 92L, is it?
Yeah, that's 92L.
That could yet form.
I just wondering whether Harvey will absorb some of 92.
Well, if it's on the other side of Florida, I doubt it.
Right, more questions. Is there any possibility that Harvey may intensify into a low-end Category 1 or a high-end tropical storm? Well, we've had that question 3 times already, and the answer is the same. It's yeah, it's very likely that it will become a high-end tropical storm or a low hurricane. That's what the National Hurricane Center is saying. They've erred on the side of the tropical storm. And another question, will this be an Allison scenario? Well, in its track and the time of year, no. In its effects, quite possibly. With what Allison did something like 40 inches, didn't it, of rainfall over in Texas, and this one is at the moment, according to 1 or 2 models, predicting 30, isn't it?
24 inches plus, so you'd imagine about there anyway. So you could be looking at that sort of effect. Well, in its landfall. And obviously beyond that, if the models are saying does come to fruition.
Yeah.
But now, anything's possible at this point. But you know, as you know, Isaac and Hank, and I know if Hank was on the live stream, I know he would say, you know, rainfall is a main concern. Well, would be a main concern, and you know, a lot of people would agree with him. Yes, I think rain would be a bigger concern than the wind, regardless if it does become a Category 1 hurricane, because flooding is going to be the more danger when it comes to landfall. But I'd rather wait to see.
Oh, we can't ignore a scenario like what you're looking at there, with the sea surface temperatures present and what appears to be low wind shear.
Because what was the storm? There were many storms.
And you got to say, I just got to mention this: the more it stalls, I think the more danger potentially there could be, because it does have more time then, and it's likely to move further east, and that means more time before landfall, because then it would be pointing towards maybe the sort of border with Louisiana, maybe Louisiana itself, even further east, maybe potentially. Could we actually have a look at all of the models spread out on the chart and see which one goes most west and most east?
On the spaghetti guidance,
yes.
Or spaghetti models. Oh, Spaghetti Junction is one of my old schools.
UK Med is also indicating there's a track towards Louisiana.
And we look at the cone right now. The National Hurricane Center is pretty confident within the next 2 days that it won't go east of 95 west when we're curving, within 2 days at least. So no, but it's stationary right now. Is it going to get to its first tropical storm point when the National Hurricane Center expects it? I'm not sure about that, because that first point there I think would be 7 p.m. I'm guessing that's Eastern time, or maybe Central time, whichever. Eastern, I think. 7 p.m. Eastern time is expected to be that first storm dot. Well, if it's stationary right now, 7 p.m. ain't so far away, and I'm not sure it's going to make all that ground. Anyway, back to Craig's graphic.
Well, then again, stranger things have happened, because, you know, it's the Gulf of Mexico, it's 30 degrees plus. Anything's possible, you know, you never know. Well, we never know.
Anything's possible except that one outlier model there that shows the storm regenerating in the far northern part of the Baja California Sea area.
Yeah, that's a bit, yeah, how much? No, let's just ignore that.
But you can see the furthest east model there calls for Louisiana landfall there, and 1 or 2 along the border with Texas.
Yep.
So, but the consensus is actually sort of on that one, appears to be around the Texas-Mexico border rather than further north, which is what the NHC is saying.
A good deal of the lines are actually poking towards Texas. Some of them are generally hovering around the Mexico landfall, but it's that compact, because you're getting that more certain of where the storms are going to end up going. This is, I think a Texas landfall, it probably will occur. I'm going to agree with the NHC on this one. But regardless of it, rainfall will be an issue. This storm is going to prove a danger regardless of strength. But going back to the other models, anything is saying is anything's possible. Anything is possible because if it does stall, it can intensify. Should intensify drastically. Well, maybe not drastically. Rapidly, a little bit quicker than expected. Not really wanting to raise alarm, but that could happen. But the chances of that may not be very large. But anything can happen because it's the Gulf of Mexico, and its history of hurricanes, tropical cyclones, is rather hair-raising.
Anyway, we're now joined by Strat for the first time this year.
Hello, everybody.
How are you doing? Are you worried about this storm at all along the East Coast?
I mean, if that one little chart there to the right side is, then yes, but what's the odds of that? So no, not at all.
How have you been for rainfall this year? I know areas around New Jersey, Pennsylvania, where our other members are, they're worried about this. What about at your neck of the woods?
If it inches a little farther north, it's going to be like probably at least a week or so till it finally starts moving inland. So until then, I can't really say much. But
I mean, in terms
I haven't had too much rain.
Okay, so you're not on the verge of flooding as it is, or anything like that.
No.
Okay, and what do you think about its chances of being a hurricane before landfall in Texas?
I'd say 50-50 right now. It depends on whether or not it stalls just off the coast or right after it moves inland.
And the NHS is pretty much 50-50 too on that. In fact, I could give you an actual number with their wind probabilities. Let's see what they have for parts of Texas. And find which one has the highest chances.
And while that's happening,
you go look at something else.
Yes, mid-level shear, and then really get the chance to check that. Now, oh dear God, that's favorable.
Yeah, that's
bad. Yeah, that's favorable. That's rather alarming. Seeing mid-level shear that's favorable in the Gulf. Sure, you got this little higher area.
Quite surprised actually. They're only giving Corpus Christi a 5% chance of hurricane conditions, Rockport, Texas, a 7% chance, Port O'Connor 7%, Matagorda 5%, High Island 2%, Freeport 4%, and 3% in Brownsville. That's of hurricane conditions. What are your thoughts on those? I'd say it's more likely than that.
I think they'll be higher. The percentages will be higher.
Tropical storm conditions, on the other hand, the highest percentage chance is in Rockport, I believe, 61%. 55% in Matagorda, 59% in Port O'Connor. Just in case anyone wanted to know those. And it suddenly got very dark here. Anyway, if you have any questions for us whilst we're on the air, do send them in. Start your message with Force13 all in text. We'll take your questions whilst we're on the air. Don't know how long we'll be here for. But we will have regular updates on this storm, and we will be live hopefully every evening to some extent whilst we track these systems. And it's going to be a time of probably an incessant amount of watching from those along the Texas coast and inland, given how this could be a big rain event if nothing else. And you know, people always look and they say, oh, it's going to be a hurricane, it's going to be a big event. Well, I think people might, if I'm being generous, I don't know, still remember Allison 16 years ago now. and how much rain that dumped whilst being just a tropical storm was retired for it. Craig, what we're looking at?
Well, I'm about to try and have a look, see what microwave imagery has come out for Harvey, but none as of yet. But what's rather surprising here is that Archer thinks that he is intensifying again, gradually going up. Say that's what, 4.4 knots, or say that's about hour or so, if not longer than that. Because microwave imagery always comes out with, say, a couple of hours or so. They always do specific scans, but sometimes they can miss. I'm just gonna have a look and see what microwave imagery. There is a center in there. That does appear to be closed because convection is appearing, but that is outdated because this is only when it was a TD. In fact, before it was designated as a tropical depression again.
It is still a tropical depression.
Yes, but before it was designated as a tropical depression again. After being put down as a disturbance. But this is actually a microwave. I've got to say, that's actually the best it has actually looked in its entire life. Because it looked shocking.
It didn't look like much to me.
Actually, maybe there you have probably the better looking structure, but that's when he was pretty much dead at that point. And
for someone not familiar with these images, what do we look for in these?
Well, when you're looking at microwave imagery, you're mainly looking for, if you're looking at tropical storms, say convection banding that can wrap around the center. That's normally signifying that you do have convection that is showing a sheared tropical storm. As you might remember from when I showed Hato's microwave imagery a couple of live streams ago, before it became a typhoon. You've seen that the strong convection displaced to the southwest of the system, which is indicating that the storm was sheared very badly. And the center was, say, where the points are. So you have the darker colors, which indicate the center, and then you have your colors, which you're seeing there, which is indicating how strong the convection is. Say, if you have that as a sheer tropical storm, normally weak tropical storms even have that, despite how good they can look. But once you start looking at, say, 70 odd miles an hour, maybe even sooner than that, you may start looking at the formation of an eye wall. That normally helps storm trackers depict when an eye could pop out on satellite, or just in general if it doesn't pop out at all. You can always use microwave imagery as a reference, because microwave imagery shows you what satellite can't see with its enhancements, with its IR, or just visible. This scans basically pretty much the rain droplets, pretty much like a radar, in other words. It scans right through it and just goes right, pricks out and basically creates a picture and says there's an eye wall starting to develop. So this thing could be around, say, 70 or actually starting to go 75 miles per hour if the eye wall is closed. So that's pretty much microwave imagery put to a T, unless you're looking at rapidly intensifying storms. You're looking for, obviously, your classic curve band, which curves up and around the storm, which is why I like using microwave imagery. And also you can depict and help forecast when an eye wall replacement is going to start or could start taking shape. That's normally one of the main features of why you use microwave imagery, because of eye wall replacements.
Okay. And, well, is anyone concerned about... I mean, we're just seeing the input there in the comment section about this returning to the Gulf of Mexico. The National Hurricane Center are a little bit undecided on their track forecast, but you look at the size of their cone on the 5-day point, and it could either go as north as Texas into Oklahoma even, and as far south as what would that be? Way out at sea. That's something like, how far north is that? 27 north or something like that. Way out at sea in the Gulf. And where would it go next if it was to do that?
Pretty much only God knows, because it could do anything. But to be honest, the cone of uncertainty, as you expect, it's pretty much well known until pretty much around this point here, where you can start getting a little bit questionable on where it might make landfall. But in the general consensus, round about where the models have actually been saying it will make landfall. Regardless if it's a hurricane, remains to be seen what he does. So
yeah, David, any thoughts?
Few days.
Oh, is he left? Is he here?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll just put in some input quickly.
Okay.
One of the things with the cone right now, at least, is almost all the models show it just going barely inland over Texas before stalling out. So at least with the cone, it isn't very likely that it goes all the way north. It's like pretty far inland Texas at the moment.
And would you agree that the stalling that it's currently exhibiting, stationary right now, will lead to a further eastward track?
It really depends how the ridge that's forming over the southwest United States interacts with it, how strong that gets.
Yeah.
The stronger it gets, the
so you think
further push.
That's more important than whether Harvey stalls or not?
I mean, that's going to be one of the biggest factors.
Okay.
Because that's whether it's going to push it back out or not.
Well, Craig, I don't know if you could bring us the latest satellite imagery and see whether it is actually moving again or not.
That's going to be interesting. But, well, there you can see the bare bones of Canada.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Oh, well, it's a right old shame. Not really. Let's see if that will load. So as we know from now, recon, I don't know whether the NEC are going to send in another recon. I think they should, to be honest. But, you know, it's up to them whether they show. So here's the latest progression of Harvey, of the reborn Harvey. It doesn't look like he is good. But he might, in fact, the last few frames might be the slow, sluggish claw to drag himself towards the coast a little bit more.
Towards which coast?
Exactly. Because we now do not know.
You're suggesting this might be moving south?
Oh God, no! Good Lord!
It's hard to tell.
It really
does. I mean, if you look at the convective pattern, there could be an argument that it could be moving south ever so slightly, or west. Not too much to say that it's moving northwest very much, though perhaps underneath there it could be moving maybe 1 or 2 miles an hour northwest. But in any case, it's very slow, and you can already see a sort of a funnel there on the northern part of the storm, with all that rain being channeled north, and that's probably going to continue and expand all the time, isn't it, as the tropical moisture gets funneled north.
I think you can, if in the last few frames, I think if I can try and slow it down considerably, it looks like it looks like it is slowly crawling, and I mean painfully crawling.
Oh yeah, you make it sound painful.
That's because it is painful. It's really going to be hard to tell when this thing does start moving. But when it starts moving, let's be honest, we won't know when it starts moving. That's the latest imagery of Harvey. And to be honest, it doesn't look great at the minute, but early days. That's from yet again. Quote unquote again. There's what's left of Typhoon Hato Yai. Looks like it's gone now. There's that thing that was supposed to be called 97W. God knows where that is. That's there somewhere. And there's the ghost, the poltergeist that haunts the deep Pacific called Jeff.
That's the only thing there in the Eastern Pacific.
That literally is, and it is, well, pretty much, I consider that post-tropical.
Yeah, the remnant low very soon indeed.
Yeah.
Harvey will be, Kenneth will be no longer with us very soon.
Harvey? What?
Well, yeah, you never know. We are talking about Harvey all evening.
Yeah.
So I'm sure
It's
you can
true,
forgive
the name
that
gets
one, Craig.
Yes, or the name will get stuck in our heads because we are stuck. We are disgusting.
Don't forget the next full update from the National Hurricane Center comes up in an hour and a half. And who knows what they'll be saying in that. The current time is 8:30 UTC. And somewhere is the Force 13 HQ webcam. There it is. And it's a nice evening over here. Current temperature 65.
At least you're not going to get pelted with thunderstorms at 3:30 in the morning.
Yes, we're tracking Tropical Depression Harvey. If you've just joined us, let me reiterate what the warnings are right now. The warnings are as such. There aren't actually any warnings, but all watches. A storm surge watch is in effect for Port Mansfield to High Island. A hurricane watch is in effect for north of Port Mansfield to San Luis Pass. A tropical storm watch is in effect for Boca de Catan, Mexico to Port Mansfield, Texas, and for north of San Luis Pass to High Island. A storm surge watch means there's a possibility of life-threatening inundation from rising water moving inland from the coastline. At the moment, the National Hurricane Center's storm surge graphic only shows 1 to 2 feet inundation, but that could rise if the storm becomes more intense. A hurricane watch means that hurricane conditions are possible within the watch area in the next 48 hours, and the same for tropical storm watch, 48 hours lead time. Obviously, tropical storm force winds entail 39 to around 73 mile an hour winds, and hurricane force winds extending beyond there. Taking a look back at Craig's imagery, which is actually the same one that we're showing right now, but there it is.
Oh, wow. Well, there. At least this one we can definitely see the LLCC. I think that it is actually slowly moving, because looking at the LLCC underneath of the convection, see there, it makes a little jog towards the north-northwest.
It's hard to tell.
It really is with all that convection.
Maybe if we got Go 16 on it, perhaps. I'll try and grab Go 16.
It's honestly barely moving whatsoever.
I've seen snails move faster.
Yeah.
Now, not taking the mick out of Harvey though, because Harvey could intensify because of this, but it's slow movement. In fact, zero movement for the time being. Because looking at the convection, that it is actually expanding and blowing up the southern edge. You see, there's the shear up to its northeast, and so on, so forth. And then you can see here he's in the low shear, so that's pretty good for him. Bad for any land areas, which you can imagine having a storm that's stalled and in low shear. It's not a good thing to be thinking about. But sadly, you know, Harvey, he's been given a second chance. But looking at this is really hard to tell whether he's moving or very, very hard to tell.
We're bringing in the Go 16 imagery in just a few moments. 1 minute imagery, and it looks beautiful, by the way.
Here comes the cavalry.
David, your thoughts?
Well, the picture's changed, and I think we better have a look at the tracks, because one model has changed considerably.
Which one?
Now,
you've got to be specific here, David. They were all saying the same thing.
I'll bring the screen share. I'll bring the screen share up because I've got a bit more info.
Well,
hello.
Yes, hi Isaac. Before you go on, I want to show the latest Go 16 imagery. It looks like this. This is the latest from Go 16 showing Harvey. A uber close-up image here. And the center of it is somewhere in there. And that's the latest right now. The center is somewhere in the bottom part there. Let's go back to the models. Craig.
He says he's going to be right back.
Oh, is this David? David.
What are your thoughts of that one? Let's see how it's changed.
A jumbled mess. Some models think that it will go into Texas and turn left. Others say it will turn right. Will it split into two, perhaps? Doubt it.
Yeah. That's the UK Met.
Oh dear, oh dear. Though, crucially, the UK Met is predicting a weaker storm. But you can see the ensembles there. And it goes crazy when it goes inland, but up until the landfall there, they're saying eastern Texas along western Louisiana. Isaac, what are your thoughts on the current models, and which one would you trust, if any? Is he back with us?
I'm sorry, my connection's going out. My connection's going out, I think. I don't know if I can hear you.
Can you hear us?
Hello? I can
Yep.
hear you. I can hear you now.
You're just
Okay.
about the models.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I was looking at them and still quite worried over here because some of them are having it hit me, and then obviously I think most of them are having it head towards Fort O'Connor, Texas area, towards Houston even, I believe. So I'm still watching this, obviously, to be careful. Just I don't know. Just
Yeah, we're struggling with your signal there.
and I guess for the world, it's just really I can say I'm doing it now.
Oceanic heat
Tomorrow
content
night,
is sort of moderate to high in the area around Harvey.
Then we have a look at wind shear. They're picking up on what Craig.
Yes. So there is an area of high wind shear to its sort of north-northeast, but over to the west there, which, and the further it tracks west, the better for Harvey. Well, sorta, because don't go too far west, there'll be land. But you know, on the approach to Texas, they're looking very low indeed. It's got to get through a little hurdle first.
Yeah, that shear is also supposed to lift to the north and east as time goes on as well. So,
when do you think this will reach tropical storm status? Do you think it's nearly there already?
its vorticity is kind of stretched out, so probably at the 11 p.m. tonight or early tomorrow morning.
Looking interesting on the Go 16. The imagery is always the mesmerizing on the 1 minute version, but there is part of the storm, as you can see once more. David's taken us back to the vorticity there. Whilst I search for some more imagery, perhaps maybe this next one will show you a little bit more of the center area of Harvey, which we'll get to in just a moment. Ah, yes, this is much better actually. Take a look at this then. Not that. Well, you can take a look at that as well briefly. 15 inches of rain expected in parts of southeastern Texas, according to the National Hurricane Center. Hurricane Watch is in effect. And this is the latest imagery again from Go 16. The center of the storm is somewhere in that, a bit further north actually. We could just try and show the further north part of that image. There we are. The Yucatan Peninsula on the right hand side, and you can see the bubbling on the left hand side there of those cloud tops near the center of Harvey. If you have any questions or comments for us whilst we're on the air, do send us a message. Start it with Force 13, all in text. I'm not sure how long we'll be staying here for. We might well finish up at the end of this hour and come back later when we get some more updates. But in the meantime, there isn't that much to say apart from what warnings we have in effect, and the next National Hurricane Center update coming up in over an hour. Bryce wants to know, what is 92L doing? First,
Nothing.
Well, here we are, Florida radar, which is sort of where 92L is, delivering some rainfall there.
Yeah, they're pretty much getting scattered showers from 92L, and they're probably getting increased rip currents maybe too. And they might be getting some flooding over there from 92L. It's a kind of, I think it's supposed to kind of meander around there and then head off out to sea and then die. If there was anything left of it, that is.
Yeah, let's just read this out. There's a flood advisory in southwestern Collier County in southwestern Florida until 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Doppler radar indicated heavy rain due to thunderstorms. This will cause minor flooding in the advisory area. Up to 2 inches of rain have already fallen from that. That includes Naples. As for warnings in the hurricane zone around Texas, I don't think there are any flood warnings out or anything yet. But of course you've got the storm surge watches, hurricane watches, and don't forget there are tropical storm warnings out at sea, including the area just off the coast of Mexico. So I do wonder whether you'll get some tropical storm warnings coming into effect just south of the Texas border soon. It's getting rather close. But as for flood warnings in Texas, none yet as far as I gather, though there is one near Lake Charles, Louisiana. Just in case you wanted to know.
Dalton Nolan asked if we think that Harvey could become a Category 1 hurricane.
Well, what do you think?
It depends on how slowly it moves. Along with that, it does have warm ocean temperatures and a little bit of upper ocean heat content. So if it moves slowly enough and the shear lifts to the north and east, it very well may be.
Well, I think it continues to look better despite being stationary. So if it keeps going along that vein and continues to move slowly, yet intensifies, not too much upwelling, it certainly could reach Category 1, and as some of the models suggested, maybe Category 2. And as some models suggested a few days ago, maybe Category 4. Doubt it. But one model right now apparently is predicting Category 5. Wonderful. But let's go to this graphic. Again, showing you Harvey's intensity models.
It looks like the 4 models indicating Cat 1.
Well, the top one appears to be the NAM model, which, who knows. One of them's a ship's model.
High-range Cat 1.
One of them's a ship's model, which we don't really listen to because it's a statistical model, and TCLP is another one. And the next one is EGRI. I'm not actually sure what that one is. And then underneath that you've got OCD5. That sounds like a statistical model as well. I can see the UK Met, which is saying around 60 miles an hour. Okay, now what are we going to be looking at? We'll get there in a moment. Yeah, Katie wants to know about whether there's any tropical waves going on back over near Africa.
There's supposed to be another 4 coming off the coast, coming off Africa.
Okay. And what are the actual water temperatures where the storm is at right now? I'll try and get that one up for you whilst we take a look at the satellite imagery shown by, I'm guessing that's David there, showing us that.
I have a graphic of the ocean temperatures right now if you want me to pull that up.
It's me.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It's me.
Go ahead, Strat.
Okay, so it's right here. It's around 29 degrees Celsius temperatures. It will be moving closer into 30 degrees. And until it really hits the shelf waters off the coast of Texas and Mexico, it'll have pretty warm oceans waters to work with.
Okay. Excellent. That imagery doesn't appear to be moving right now. Is that just an... Okay, it's gone. Fine. I think we're getting a Strats image finally. Here we are.
Yeah, here it is. The green is 29.5 and yellow is closer to 30.5.
Interesting imagery there, and you can see sort of like a cool area along the coast of northern Mexico, southern Texas there.
Okay, so
in a moment I'll just get you another view of the current sea surface temperatures. I think you can see it here. That's the sound of Marcel in the background. One moment. And there is the current sea surface temperature. Just wanted to show you in this graphic as well, showing how most of it is above 29 Celsius. Some areas 30 plus in the areas out at sea. Now we're looking at looks like a rain graphic here. Who's showing us this?
I am. So you can see where Harvey is, but no doubt that this picture is going to change. I'm looking. I'll keep an eye on this one because I'm looking for the area that could be up around the 20-inch mark, which will be the pink.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, we'll be finishing up here shortly, and we might come back again later this evening for more live coverage of Harvey as it continues to develop. And does everyone agree with Strat that you think it will become a tropical storm at 11 PM Eastern?
yeah, I think I agree that it'll become a tropical storm sometime this evening.
And of course we will have updates throughout, whether they'll be live or recorded. We'll certainly have plenty of stuff coming through anyway. But there you can see this graphic showing not only Harvey's rainfall, but 92L as well.
Yep, this is across the next 5 days, I think. No,
nearly 6 inches along the eastern coast of Florida over a 5-day period.
Yeah, 5 day. Yep.
And as you can see, 12 inches in Texas, and I think that's a little bit generous. I think it was going to be more than that. The NHC themselves say that it will be 10 to 15 inches with isolated maximum amounts of 20 inches over the middle and upper Texas coast. And heavy rainfall could begin as early as Friday morning.
And storm surge. And if anybody's got info on the high tides.
Graphic didn't show much, but according to the National Hurricane Center, they say the storm surge will be between 4 and 6 feet from Port Mansfield to High Island. No, sorry, that's somewhat hypothetical actually. They say that will be the case if it strikes at high tide. So if it strikes at high tide, they're expecting it to be between 4 and 6 feet. But at the moment, as far as we saw on their storm surge graphic, they're only saying about 1 or 2 feet. But they do have a storm surge watch out, so I think everyone's suitably prepared, or ought to be anyway. Oh, we've got some more imagery here. Hold on, I'm just getting that up. The color imagery, I'm guessing that's from GOES 16 as well.
Yeah, that's geocolor imagery of Harvey there, as you can see it, and to the top right you can see 92 over there near Florida. And yeah.
And is Marcel with us right now?
Yes.
Joining us from Colombia. How are you?
fine.
And what are your thoughts on Harvey? Do you think it will become a tropical storm tonight? And do you think it will become a hurricane?
Tropical storm, actually, yes.
I'm sorry?
And hurricane. And if that will, I think there is a high possibility that storm becomes a hurricane.
So you think it will become a tropical storm tonight, and it's likely to become a hurricane before landfall, right? What do you think about its stationary movement right now? Do you think that will turn it to the east of what they're expecting at all?
Okay. Based on that, I think I will see the missile pictures for. I think yes. That.
Okay. And we're again looking at it on the GOES 16 imagery here, and you can see again how expansive it's becoming to the north there, and I do wonder whether that will produce quite a lot of rainfall in itself before the storm even gets there. It's certainly got the potential to be a broad system. It sort of reminds me ever so slightly of Alex. And slightly further north. Anyone got any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Orlando.
You can go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, if that keeps going, definitely it could cause some, what do you call it, pre-impacts for before the storm even heads there. It could cause some flooding as well too, if that Finn was saying to the north there keeps on going. So that could be another reason why they're expecting what last time I checked was like 14, 16 inches of rain in some places from this thing.
Oh yeah.
So this could be another reason why the models may be forecasting that. Go ahead, Orlando.
I think he's gone.
Oh.
I'll speak for him then. It is elongated right now, but as it kind of gets more wrapped together with vorticity and stuff, I would assume the system, as it strengthens, will become more compact in general. The convection will start to wrap around a bit more tightly, and it'll get probably a bit smaller in size.
Well, there we are, I guess, for now. The storm expected to move towards the northwest or north-northwest. Hurricane watch is already out for the coast of Texas. No warnings yet, but I do believe warnings might be issued for the coast of Mexico near the border pretty soon. There again is some more imagery from Isaac, I believe, or from someone anyway, showing the...
Yes.
Yep, the imagery, and quite a lot of dry air over there. It's something we haven't looked at yet. You think that's going to be an obstacle at all?
Head over to Strat.
Well, I'll just take over from that. I think I don't think it will really be that much of an obstacle, but it could hinder it slightly.
And someone, I mean, I talked about it earlier, but what are your thoughts on whether this will be like Allison?
Well, it could be like Allison when it comes to the rainfall total. If it stalls over land like the models want it to, the potential is there.
Yeah, okay. Any final thoughts, Isaac? How's preparations going? And actually, let me ask about what everyone else is saying about the storm in your area. Are they taking it seriously?
They're saying... Yeah, well, obviously we're Texans, but they're taking it. Everybody's taking it seriously right now. Everybody's getting water, stocking up on food. People are really taking it seriously over here. I sure have. I have water
They've
too.
not
as well,
gone to the
case.
extremes, have they, and emptied out all the stores yet? Have they?
No, not just yet. Just emptied out the water, pretty much.
Emptied out the water. Okay.
Last I heard, though, they did. But yeah, we're certainly taking preparations here and taking this seriously, like you know, because apparently it's supposed to hit either as a tropical storm or maybe a Category 1 even if given the right if given how strong it intensifies. But that's really all there is, and just people just preparing for it just in case.
And of course, at the moment, it's not looking anything like what we were looking at 25 years ago on this day when Hurricane Andrew was making landfall in Florida as a Category 5 hurricane. I don't know if anyone wants to briefly have a little mention on that one.
Yeah, Andrew was a really, well, if no one also talk, Andrew was really intense storm. I believe it's the last, and one of the few Category 5s that have made landfall over land. And this one hit Florida, and they were so strong, in fact, that it literally knocked the radar off in the National Hurricane, National Weather Service over there. The radar got knocked out because of how strong the winds were, so they had to resort to the other radars around the area.
And I was watching a few.
It was a really just devastating event.
I was watching a few Andrew aftermath videos recently, and
yeah,
the aftermath was terrible, wasn't it?
And Louisiana, I believe it was Category 3.
Yeah, and I was watching through those videos, and you see how terrible the aftermath was, and then we have and then I look in the related videos section, and we have Force 13's Historic Atlantic Hurricanes Part 1, that really old video that is terrible, but for some reason is very popular. But there we go. That's the end for now. Thank you everyone for joining us, and all of our team this afternoon, evening. We will have more, I guarantee it. As the storm develops. I'm not sure how much I'll have a part in it because I will be away quite a bit over the next few days, unfortunately, but we'll certainly as a team be keeping you on top of this over the next few days as the situation materializes. But from now